Hey guys, Tomboy601, and today we have a review of the Anshan, the all-new Tier 5 Pan-Asian destroyer that has come to World of Warships Legends. If you're interested, we're going to go over the build, the commander, and go off and show a game in it. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you stay tuned. Before we dive into a review, I do want to disclose that Wargaming did give me this ship for review purposes, so I just want to get that disclosure out of the way. So with all that said, let's first dive on into the commander. And today's commander, we are going to be running Sa Zhang Bin. And with this ship, I think it's one of those that is kind of unique in that it can be played a ton of different ways. It's just a ship that excels at range, and you just kind of want to keep your distance. For me, I'm running Sa Zhang Bin because I wanted to buff the guns just a little bit more because I wanted to be a torpedo boat with a little bit of a bite. So base trait is going to boost it's going to increase the minimum ricochet angle of your destroyer's AP. Then we have observant range, mortar, twist and track, smoke on the water, and unstoppable. Twist and track being important over perceptive, just because the guns on the ship do not like to rotate quickly, and it is one of the definite downsides. So twist and track definitely helps with keeping those guns rotating a little bit quicker than stock. Then our two inspirations, running Eric Bay for increased concealment and William Sins to boost the HP. After that, let's go ahead and take a look at the mods. And continuing with these turrets don't rotate quick enough train, we are running main battery mod 2, which is going to boost that main battery traverse speed at the cost of reload time on the main guns. Then we're running the steering gears mod 2, which is going to decrease rudder shift time, which you may want because this ship is essentially a Gnevny class destroyer, and it plays very similarly to a Gnevny, and those tend to be played at range. And then finally, I am running the alternate torps. We'll go ahead and go over both of the torp loadouts. The alternate torps are going to be the deep water ones. You can also run standard torpedoes on this boat, and that's kind of the unique factor of this ship. Finally, the consumables on the vessel. Well, we have the damage control part. It's going to last for 5 seconds and reload in 40 seconds. We have the smoke generator. It's going to last. It's going to puff out for 20.8 seconds. Stay in the area for 84.2 seconds. Going to reload in 240 seconds, and you're going to get 2 charges of it. And then finally, you have the engine boost. It's going to boost your speed by 8%. It's going to last about 120 seconds. Reload time is going to be 180 seconds, and you're going to have 2 charges of that. And those are all of the consumables. And with all that, let's go ahead and dive on in to those stats. So first things first, the Anshan is going to have 16,400 hit points with an armor thickness between 10 and 19 millimeters. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that armor view. And as we can see, it's a destroyer. 19 millimeters of armor all around. It's a Gnevny destroyer, so it's not even like it has a unique armor set. It's a Gnevny. There's nothing really to write home about here. Additionally, there is no torpedo reduction, just like the Gnevny, so don't worry about that. Main battery on the ship is going to be 4 one-barreled 130 millimeter guns with a firing range of 10.7 kilometers and a reload time of 3.4 seconds. That gives you a shells per minute of 71, and the 180 time on those guns is going to be 20.7 seconds. HE damage, you're going to be doing 2,043, giving you a DPM of 145,053. You're going to have a chance of fire of 7%. AP damage on the vessel is going to be 2,688, and that's going to give you a DPM of 190,848. The vessel does not have any secondary batteries, so we don't have to worry about secondaries. We do, however, have to cover the torpedoes. And as I run them, the ship does have the deep water torps, and the stats for those are as followed. Of course, both are going to have those 2 5-barreled 533 millimeter cannons, but the reload time on the deep water torp is going to have a 79-second reload. It's going to do 15,000 damage. It's going to have a detectability range of 0.9 kilometers, torp speed of 60 knots, a range of 8 kilometers. And then if you go over and use the standard torpedoes on the vessel, you're looking at a 70-second reload on the torps, a a 1.4 kilometer detectability range, 15,100 damage. So you're losing 100 damage by switching over. You're gonna be doing your range on the torpedoes is only going to be 6 kilometers, and the torpedoes are going to do 75 knots. So they are straight up Gnevny torps. If you want to and choose to, you can essentially really make this just a Gnevny. AA damage, well, your range is going to be 3.5 kilometers. Minimum damage is going to be 37, and maximum is going to be 37. There's only one AA ring. I would say this is slightly better than the regular Gnevny. Gnevny only has a range of 3.2 kilometers and does 17 damage per second out at 3.2 kilometers. It does get up once you get into about a kilometer. It does 38 damage, only 1 damage per second better. I think the higher damage over a larger field is definitely preferable there. Max speed of the ship, 38 knots with a turning radius of 610 meters and a rudder shift time of 3.9 seconds. Finally, concealment, you're going to be looking at 6.2 kilometers by sea, 3.2 kilometers by air, and 2.5 while firing in smoke. So those are all the stats of the vessel. It is very much a Gnevny, and the stats are kind of mirrored over. The thing that makes it unique is definitely going to be those torpedoes. Okay, so here we are on the map Northern Waters. In the condensed version of the map, I will once again say I do really enjoy these condensed versions of the maps because they do force play, unlike the other maps. They do force scenarios that you usually wouldn't do. So bravo to that. And I do have to say, Anshan, not my favorite destroyer. I think it's definitely strong, and to those who enjoy its playstyle, it's going to be a good time and a fun time for you. For me personally, I am not a huge fan of the Russian DD playstyle, and that's why this boat doesn't really jive for me. It may be great for you, and you may want to look into picking it up, but for me, this is a ship that is going to go into my port, and I will only use it when there's like first win bonuses that get crates. Beyond that, I'm good to just kind of let it live and let be. Anyways, our main strategy here is we want to go wide. We want to play the flanks. Anshan's kind of strength with its longer range torps is you have decent ranged guns that you can play at range, and with those torpedoes you can keep the torpedoes at range as well. So the Anshan is a very much a border hugging sort of ship that you want to play wide. Anyways, we do get spotted. Fubuki having the same idea, of course. Anshan, it plays like a Torp boat that just also happens to have pretty decent guns, and by that I mean if you can stay wide, if you can stay out on the flanks, if you line up the crossfires on the ships with the torpedoes, you are going to have a lot of success. Anyways, Fubuki, we've gotten him nearly gunned down, and this is, I think, the big strength of Anshan, is the torpedoes are pretty deadly, but then you combine them with the Russian guns, the Russian guns being extremely accurate at longer ranges, and the usual Torp boat suspects just can't really hold up to these guns, right? Especially at tier 5, there isn't a lot of competition for a Torp boat that also does really well gunnery wise. You know what I mean? At the longer ranges. This Anshan will outgun pretty much any of those Torp boats, but once again, not really my favorite thing. Fubuki launched a set of torps at the last range. He's knocked out our engine. We were able to slide right between those torpedoes, thankfully. And now we're just kind of waiting and figuring out what we want to do. We can see one of the torpedoes, or one of the battleships, is within range of our torpedoes. He just dropped spot, so we don't have an aim indicator on him quite yet. We can see that they're starting to kind of nose in, and we want to kind of be out on this side. One, we want to kind of corral the enemy battleships. We don't want to give them the ability to flank out, which, you know, is a real concern for us. We also do end up getting detected. We don't have a lot of stealth, which is kind of one of the downsides to this torpedo build, if you will. But because we have the 8-kilometer torps, if people decide to push in, there is a lot of play within that spotting ring. Anyways, we go ahead and launch those torpedoes at the Koenig. We saw he kind of booped his nose on the island right there, so he's kind of stuck in full reverse. We'll see how those do, but we're also concerned about that Kavor because he's going to start to push in and brawl. the Anshan does have one of the things that is can be built for if you decide to run it as a full Torp build. The torpedoes reload relatively quickly, right? You can get them down to about a minute reload, which is pretty great for the tier. And to be able to pump out that kind of damage fairly consistently, it does go a long way. Those first set of torps hit. Second set of torps also take off some damage from the Koenig. We don't get any flooding on the second set, but hey, that was a good set. And now we're just kind of waiting it out for this Kavor. We need to wait for about 20 seconds until we can go ahead and launch torps. We can see he is kind of locked into battle and nose in, and he's seen us. And this is one of the good things that you can kind of take advantage of in the Anshan, I guess, is that because you have such a huge detectability, even when you're not ready to launch the torps, you can go ahead and, like, people will go ahead and telegraph their move, because as soon as they spot you, they're going to assume that you've already launched your torps. But you can kind of hold them off, wait, and see what exactly they're going to do. And that's kind of what we did right there. He saw us and was like, oh, that's a destroyer. We have to maneuver immediately. And we hadn't even launched our torps yet. Sadly, none of those torps end up connecting, but we are able to use this island to kind of swing around and greet the Kavor on his broadside, though our enemy battleship is going in for the full broadside. We go ahead, once that indicator is off, just off the tail of our friendly, we're able to go ahead and launch them. Duca getting brave in here and deciding to start to push in, and now we get to engage and see what exactly we can do against a cruiser. We're kind of trying to disengage here. Enemy Kavor ends up going down. We go ahead, pop our smoke to try to disengage, because of course we are a prime target, right? We are someone who has kind of won. That Koenig is definitely mad at us because we've taken a good chunk of his health, and so is that Kavor is now down. Duca needs to start doing his job and start to wipe us off the map, and we can go ahead and start engage. We still have that friendly battleship near us who can provide the spot, and as he starts to try to close in, we can go ahead and use our time, wait for him to come on in. Of course, the one thing we do need to be conscious about is the fact that Duca does have sonar. He kind of gives up his smoke in order to have the sonar, and we're just waiting to see if he's going to try to nose in on the battleship, and if he does, we should be able to flip over to AP, but we can see, one, we are clearly detected by that sonar, and we need to get out of there. We're going to go ahead and use this one island for cover against the Koenig, because it will have better secondary fire. We want to avoid taking as much damage as we can. We also have that torpedo back on reload, so we're going to go ahead, aim this torpedo right here, because that Duca doesn't have his guns pointed towards us. He is kind of more concentrating on the enemy, on our friendly battleship there. Now he's starting to turn his attention towards us. We can see he's sailing at broadside, so we flip over to the AP. We're just going to wait for him to come around that corner. We want to sort of drop spot if we can, but that Koenig is just nearby. Duca nosing his way around the corner. He's flat broadside to us. We get a beautiful citadel on him. One more salvo. Duca's gone. We're going to start to turn out, try to get our distance from that Koenig, because we need to clear another kilometer or two, get behind the island. But we end up taking him down for the double strike and high caliber with the Anshan. It's exactly what we need. And now there are only 2 destroyers and a battleship left, and that Monahan definitely has the HP advantage on us, but he is going to be the closest ship, so it's time for us to go in. Also, we're going to try to go ahead and cap C. They've gone ahead and taken A. While we are slightly ahead of points, we are about to fall behind on points, so we want again to see neutralize their ability to gain points, gain score on our own. That way we can start getting more of those points, because it is coming down to be a close game, right? We have a 1 ship advantage at this moment, but Monahan out at range, and we want to keep this engagement far off like this, just because, well, the Monahan, it's an American destroyer. American destroyer, going to have higher shell arcs, not going to be as effective at range, and our Russian DNA here is going to pay dividends, because we are going to be able to deliver beautiful, accurate fire onto this Monahan while he tries to gun us down. We have a fraction of the health that he has. He has, at this point, nearly 10,000, so 3 times the amount of health that we have, and we're just going to continue just to play with the throttle, kind of dance back and forth, see if we can force an error. He's going to get the hit here and there, and we know it's going to be a danger. He runs aground right there, which is good for us because now we have a stationary target to go ahead and aim at. He does hit us a couple of times right here. We go ahead, pop our damage con. Monahan slowly being wheeled down here, and he is about to go down. One more salvo in, and will these finish him? Yes, they do. That nabs us the Kraken and gives us the clearing to go ahead and capture C and really end this match. We'll not end it quite yet because we do still have one more ship on the board, but do a good job of kind of clearing the side and allowing us to go ahead and take the C point. Now, as we do this and we take this cap, I'll go ahead and give kind of my final thoughts on it because we will end up going after that Fuso. Anshan, like I said, it is not a ship that I particularly like playing, but that's because I don't like the play style of the Gnevny. It's not a ship that jives with the way I enjoy to play this game. If the Gnevny is your favorite destroyer, I think you'll love the Anshan, and that's just because it is straight up pretty much a Gnevny, but you get better torpedoes. Now, will those torpedoes be able to engage enemy destroyers? No, but Gnevny's whole thing is being able to keep people at a distance, and now you are giving yourself double the kind of ability to engage people at those distance. Usually with Gnevny, you're just kind of like, well, I'm going to build for distance and fire and just try to burn people and annoy people and kind of be a small cruiser that doesn't have a citadel, right? That's kind of the play style of Gnevny. What this does is allows you to still maintain that kind of harasser play style out in the distance, but instead of only having the guns, you do also now have the torpedoes to go ahead and harass at range. Yes, you won't be able to harass destroyers at range, and if you launch torpedoes, the deep water torps at destroyers, they're going to laugh at you because they're just going to sail right under them, and they're going to be like, oh, this idiot. But having the torpedoes where you can keep the ship at the range that it likes and still be able to engage with that other part of what your ship does have a very unique and a very viable kind of way to play. But as I said, it is not the style of game I like to play. It's just not the way I enjoy playing this game. So I am one who's probably not going to be picking up the Anshan again, if you know what I mean. It will be staying in my port, but it is not going to make a regular appearance on the channel. So yeah, guys, that's the Anshan. We went ahead and fired our first salvo out just to see if that Fuso was going to come around the corner and we could surprise him. We're going to go ahead and suicide torp in. I usually wouldn't suggest this, but well, it's 3v1 and there's no way the Fuso can take all three of us. He can absolutely take me, and I'm hoping that there's no way in hell the Fuso could take both of the other battleships in time. Mind you, our enemy team could prove us wrong, or our friendly team could prove us wrong. We go ahead, there's nothing he could do to dodge these torps. We go ahead, launch, start firing them with the AP. We can see we can get a couple little pens at the top, but a lot of it's going to be shatters. Secondaries finish us off. We get 3 hits in there and start a flood, and there is nothing he can do as we take him down with the flood. And that ends our match in a pretty good one for the 6-pack. So yeah, guys, that's the Anshan. If you liked the video, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.